We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show, episode 266. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. To my left is the current reigning and defending Scholars of Wrestling champion, Scholar Brian. How's it going tonight, sir?
Alright, mostly.
Alright, mostly? I'm mysterious. Well, as you can probably see for those of you who are joining us on video, unfortunately, Scholar Tarek and our number one contender, Mr. JML himself, are unable to join us this week.
But is he really, though?
Really what?
Is Mr. JML really the number one contender? Because no challenge has been accepted. No... Let me tell you the story of this past month.
Oh.
Okay?
Do tell.
Or since SummerSlam, if you will. Now, obviously, okay, I haven't been here that often due to personal conflicts. Things had to be taken care of. I had to step away. But during that time, SummerSlam happened. I retained said Scholars of Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, and JML had a good night.
Yes, becoming the first ever Scholars of Wrestling Party champion.
And that he did. And off the high of his victory, he posted a tweet straight up challenging me for this title. All well and good, but I wanted to see if he could give me a little more before accepting the challenge. This is a wrestling podcast. What do we associate with wrestling? Creativity, passion. All right? I wanted to see if he could give me something that would make it more palatable for me to accept said challenge. Okay? So I said that tweet was boring. I said it was plebeian. I said that tweet was unworthy of a number one contender. Do better, and I will consider accepting your challenge. What did he do? He went back into the annals of Facebook, found a high school nickname, and tried to make fun of it.
A high school nickname.
Let me set the stage. Alright, I'm a freshman. I'm skinnier than this. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
And apparently I had a face that looked like Rowan Atkinson.
Suddenly Twitter handles seem quite applicable and relevant now.
So they called the high school freshman called me Bean.
Aha.
Okay? It was meant to make fun of me. It was meant to tear me down. But because I have thick skin, okay, I took that nickname, I owned it, I spun it into such a positive. In wrestling terms, it got me over well enough that it opened doors to get me into groups of people that I had no business being with. So you can make fun of that nickname all you want. But it did exactly the opposite of what you thought it would do. Okay, now fast forward to a few hours before this recording. Okay, suddenly he goes back on Twitter. Okay, goes back to that tweet to that video that I called him boring and plebeian. Said, oh, all your videos and your big words just mask the fact that you're afraid to accept the challenge for the title. Here's the problem, boss. I think you got it twisted. Okay, the invitation has been open for 3 weeks now for you to come here in person, challenge me face to face. Instead, you hide behind that keyboard and all you do is talk shit. Well, no more. This is your final opportunity. This is your final warning. This is your last chance. Show up to the prediction show next week. You get your title shot. With a stipulation to be added. It's already written down, but I'm not going to say it because I doubt you're actually going to show up. Ooh. Okay, show up next week, you get your title shot. You don't show up, you forfeit all right to your title shot. You don't get one. Alright?
Strong
No
words.
more tweeting. No more hiding behind a keyboard. Show up or stay away.
There it is. This gauntlet has been thrown down. The challenge has not been... Well, the gauntlet has been thrown down. Will the challenge be accepted? Hey, next week is the prediction show for Night of Champions. We'll see how it all goes. But in the meantime, we had quite a bit of news this week in wrestling. So let's kick things off the way we ought to with a little segment we like to call Backstage News, where we like to take a look behind the curtain and look at the news in the world of professional wrestling. And let's just get right into the promo.
Backstage News! Mercer sucks, man.
I'm not used to making these promos, man. But yeah, Mercer sucks. Jon Moxley is out of several things, including AEW's All Out event, including... What else has he got out of?
He's not allowed to travel, so he can't show up to StarCast this weekend.
And StarCast,
which he was also big doings for. Like, it was going to be huge. Mm-hmm. He had a sit-down interview planned with JR. So that would have been huge. And also, for all you indie fans out there that were looking forward to his match at Bloodsport with Josh Barnett, that's going to have to go too. Because now it's all in the business of being ready for TV. AEW's opening show. So he's taking all the time off that he needs to in order to be ready for that. Which
ultimately
I applaud him for making it. Sucks. I do appreciate that they were able to get Pac back to face Kenny Omega at All Out, but let's face it, okay, that was the match that most people were looking forward to at that show. Yeah,
I know I was.
You could make the case for the first ever champion, but what were most people talking about going into that show? Moxley versus Omega. Mm-hmm. And now we can, with the promo that Omega cut after finding out that Moxley had to pull out, okay, this feud...
That was beautiful.
This feud has been taken to such a level. Okay, this might have been a blessing in disguise.
It is.
When you think about it. Not for the health of Moxley, obviously, but this is going to be so much more than it was before the injury. Like, it's the silver lining to this entire situation. Like, we're talking feud of the year stuff here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what. Kenny Omega has never been one of those guys who's lacking on the mic. But this one, it seemed like he was really digging it in. And the hype alone is real. The hype is not going anywhere. And we know for a fact this is going to carry into AEW's TV show. It must.
Yes.
It's a great dynamite feud to kick off the entire TV show. I welcome it. Sucks that Jon Moxley had to deal with this illness, but you know what? He's going about it smartly, and everyone involved, for that matter, is doing some really, really intelligent moves here. So kudos to you.
And he's gonna have, and just for future reference, there's every possibility that this will pop up again, because once you get it the first time, it's one of those injuries that once you get it once, it's very easy to get it again after because he's already had this.
Oh.
He did this was the infection that almost killed him during his injury time off in the WWE. Remember, he went out for the elbow, he had the surgery, and then like a month later he got that infection.
Ew.
That put him in the hospital again. He had to have another operation, almost killed him. Same infection.
Yeesh.
So it's very easy to get it again. So hopefully he's able to get past this and it not pop up again during his wrestling career. But all the best for the man. When you come back, you're gonna have some pretty big stuff to do when you come back.
Speaking of crippling diseases and big stuff to do, someone that's been making waves in the wrestling world recently, at least the past couple days, CM Punk is not only going to show up at StarCast, but he just recently filmed a promo with him in a wrestling ring, taking a bump. And then supposedly he's also going to be a guest on the JR podcast. On JR Grillin' or whatever they're calling it these days. So a lot of people are saying, oh, is the podcast going to be about CM Punk? Or is he actually going to be interviewed on JR's podcast? Is this a hint of things to come? We've got All Out coming. Naturally, it reignited the whole thing of, is CM Punk going to wrestle for AEW?
In this case, okay, I'm not getting excited because we have to take into account, okay, CM Punk is second only to Jericho in the trolling his fans department. Okay? Just because he puts out a promo taking a bump, okay, I have a hard time believing, with the amount of shit he's talked about the wrestling business, that he's actually going to get back into it. And knowing how he loves to troll his fans on Twitter, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if he paid a shit ton of money just to make a video and troll his entire fan base. He certainly has enough money to do so. So that's it.
Yeah, but does he really want to do that though? Like, something seems wrong about this.
Here's also the thing. CM Punk's fan base is so loyal. Okay, his actual fan base, not us. I mean, like his posse on Twitter, the posse that he actually has. Okay, they're so loyal that he could troll the shit out of them, and they'd just be like, "Oh, you got us again, Punk. We love you anyway." But
So in other words, what are you expecting to see, and what do you hope to see out of
I'm
this?
expecting to see him at StarCast and on this podcast, and not wrestling a bit.
But
That's
is that
what
what
I
you
expect.
want to see?
I honestly would be fine with never seeing CM Punk in a wrestling ring again. As I've said multiple times, it's me. It's actually a bunch of people. Okay, he bit the hand that fed him so hard. His fan base and the WWE itself, when he did what he did and walked off of TV and never came back, okay, that he burned his bridge with me. I would be perfectly fine never seeing him in a wrestling ring again. That's just me, though.
Honestly, I'm going to have to agree with you, but I'm not going to share your reasoning why. I want the man to be happy. Again, I consider myself a former fan of CM Punk. And the reason I say former fan is not just because he burned the bridge, and I don't necessarily agree it in the way that you're putting it, though I do see what you mean. I think it's more of a travesty that he took so much of what his professional scenario was very, very personally, and it ultimately killed his love for professional wrestling. This is a typical story of someone who has been so neck deep in a profession, an art, all the above and more, that he can no longer see the forest for the trees. I truly believe he has forgotten what it is to be a fan. He has lost sight of the mentality of what fans really want when they are articulate. I believe that Punk is one of those people who has just been exposed to an endless cacophony of noise that he is unable to really discern the true meaning of it all. All that to say, I agree with you that I don't really care if he ever comes back. The man has every right to live a happy and healthy life. The only thing I want as a fan is for him to see the forest for the trees and just not hate wrestling or the wrestling fans anymore.
I put it this way when Moxley did the Jericho interview. I likened it to CM Punk doing the Cabana interview. Okay. The difference was, okay, CM Punk in that interview was so bitter with the experience that he had. And when you listen to it, you can see why. Okay, when you really listen to it and understand what's going on and understand what he's going through while he's in the WWE, okay, I get it. But he did everything in that situation the wrong way. Okay, and doing it the wrong way, doing it the way he did, okay, in the process killed his love for the business and for the fan base that he had. Okay, whereas when Moxley did it, you could tell that he was only bitter with the process. He still loved his fan base. He still loved the business as a whole. He did everything the right way and came out 100 times better for it. That's the difference between the two. Like, you don't have the same amount of people bitter with Moxley for what he did with the WWE as people who were bitter at CM Punk with what he did. So it's and one of them still loves the wrestling business, even though it causes him to keep getting infections in his elbow.
That could happen to anybody.
Exactly. And the same thing happened to CM Punk, staph infection. But it's the WWE that made him wrestle with it. So that's another thing that just led him down the path to bitterness, being so bitter that it made people bitter at him for being so bitter. So it's a catch-22, and if he comes back to the wrestling business, okay, I agree with you. I don't know if he can be happy again being in the wrestling business, seeing how bitter he was. And it's hard to turn that kind of bitter off.
I'm going to say it may be difficult, but I do not believe it's possible.
Impossible.
And the reason I do not believe it's impossible. What you know what I mean. What I am going to say is that, and the reason I say that is because of the state of the wrestling business today. When Punk was at his peak, the WWE main event scene, exactly where he was the absolute highest of the high peaks. It was the top place you could be. It was the loftiest thing you can aspire to, and Punk was there, and he found the experience so deeply dissatisfying that I am honestly convinced that, like I said, he couldn't see the forest for the trees, and he got to the mountaintop, realized how miserable he was, and realized, this is it? This is what I've busted my ass for? This is what I hope to achieve? No. There was no AEW yet. There was no gone were the days of World Championship Wrestling and that whole feud and another equivalent.
All you had was Impact, and who would want to do that?
He's been there too. Did nothing with them. And really, I get that. But now, this time, the landscape has changed. There's AEW. There's a whole other movement in wrestling that you can be a part of and make plenty of money, get plenty of exposure, perform at a very high top level with a whole bunch of other top level guys. If he's ever in that sort of healthy corporate environment again, I suspect if he pokes his head in, I think he's going to like what he sees. But the key is going to be, how much is he going to be exposed to? And where will he go from there? But, hey, now we're getting off the rails a little bit. Now we're still in the realm of speculation. But one thing we will not speculate about is what was released as of today. We're talking about the PWI 500 for the year 2019. And for the second time, Seth Rollins is number one.
Let's face it. Okay. The PWI is not really the best wrestler competition. It's how much you've accomplished in the last year. And if we're going by that, okay, yes. Obviously. Seth Rollins has accomplished the most.
My first gut reaction was expecting it to be Becky Lynch.
Except, here's the problem. Okay, the PWI 500 has had 4 ladies in its entire existence even make the list. Let alone be in the top 100.
There's a case that could be made for that.
So I never expected Becky Lynch to be anywhere even on the list. That's it.
So you're not shocked by this?
I'm not shocked by Seth Rollins because technically, okay, he did accomplish the most, and that is really what this list is. It's not who the best wrestler is. It hasn't been that for a long time. It's been who's accomplished the most. And in this case, in between the time that I'm not exactly sure what the time frame is, but either way, okay, Seth Rollins has accomplished the most in a year time frame. There's no question about that. There really isn't. You could make a case for Kofi, but
consistent basis.
But it's Kofi. But remember, take the wrestling out of it. It's accomplishments.
You're right.
That's it. So Kofi Kingston has 1 title reign. It's a legitimately good title reign. Many title defenses. Okay, but it's not the amount that Seth Rollins has done over the entire year. Kofi Kingston's rise didn't happen until February of 2019. Okay, based off of an entire year, Kofi didn't do shit before February.
And I think that's the key.
2019.
I think that's the key.
So, yeah, I'm not surprised. Seth Rollins being number one makes all the sense in the world going by what their criteria is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, congratulations to Seth Rollins. Except for that little blip in time, the 3 to 4 months before SummerSlam, in between the AJ Styles and the Brock Lesnar and the actual match with Brock Lesnar. Everything in between that was shit. But other than that, you had a pretty good year. So, yeah, congratulations. Keep it up.
Bravo to Seth Rollins. And speaking of Seth, we have a lot to talk about on this week's episodes of Raw and SmackDown, kicking things off with Monday Night Raw. And it has finally been made official: Braun Strowman versus Seth Rollins for Night of Champions for the Universal Championship.
Yay.
Color me surprised.
Yay. Oof.
I'm still interested.
This entire show is built around Strowman and Rollins. All of it. That's it.
Yeah.
And what do you do here? The challenger is Strowman. You just put the title back on Rollins. What do you do here? Do you have Rollins beat Strowman clean? Do you have a non-finish?
Are you asking it that way because you don't think it's going to happen?
They've booked themselves into a corner where whatever happens here, somebody comes out looking bad. Okay, I do believe.
I'm
skeptical.
skeptical.
Tell me, Strowman loses clean.
Yes. What about it?
He's been on such, let's face it, okay, to me, based on what they've been having him do since the beginning of the year, for me, why is he here? Why are we having this? Strowman, based on what they've had him do the entire year, okay, this makes no sense. But
this is his road back.
But here's the problem. Okay? You put him right in the title match where Rollins just won it back from the Beast. He is the Beast Slayer. Okay, what I think is going to happen, what I think they're doing here is Rollins is going to be that champion who's like, he beat Lesnar clean. He's going to beat Strowman clean. Okay? You can't have Rollins lose. You can't. You can't have Strowman become the champion a month after Rollins pulled off what he pulled at SummerSlam. You can't do it. It's horrible booking if you do that. It makes Rollins look like shit if you do that. So they booked themselves into a corner here. Either Rollins beats Strowman, or they do a no finish, which they already did that with Kofi and Randy. You can't do it again the month after.
One could argue that you never want to do it, period.
You never want to do it, period, but you definitely don't want to do it 2 pay-per-views in a row if you're going to do it at one. So there is no... Strowman is not walking out champion. It's not happening. That's it. There is nothing you can say to me that will have Strowman walking out champion. And if they do, Okay, it ruins all the momentum that Rollins has, and you can't defend otherwise. You can't. You can try.
Who said I was going to? Who said I was going to?
If anyone would, it's you. You are the biggest Strowman mark on this on this
come
panel.
On.
Oh, I love me some Strowman.
We all love Strowman. Come on.
But let's face it. Okay, as of
I
this
am
point,
not a blind mark for Braun Strowman.
as of this point, okay, he is not champion material.
I'll tell you. I'll just leave it with this. I do like Braun Strowman. I have my own theories as far as how it will all go down next Sunday at Night of Champions. I'm going to save those finer details for the prediction show next week. But all I'm going to say is I do have my own thoughts. I've got my own ideas on how this could go down, and I'm going to save that for next week.
And here's another problem with their tag team championships. That tag team turmoil, that was horrid.
That was bad.
That was rough. Okay, first of all, the Revival already have a title shot. What are they doing in the tag team turmoil for the other one?
I got so excited about this. I love tag team turmoil matches. I love championship scrambles. I enjoy those kinds of matches. But the way this was executed was the sorriest excuse for anything of its kind I've ever seen.
Here's what should have went down. Okay, if you're going to do what they did with the OC and the War Raiders. Okay, if you're going to do that. Okay. You put over the War Raiders huge. Okay. They beat the shit out of the B team. That's good. That's good. I like that. Okay. You have Hawkins and Ryder come out after that. You have the War Raiders beat the shit out of them too. You have them take out like 2 or 3 teams in a row. Okay. They're looking real strong. Who's going to be able to come down and beat the War Raiders? Then you have the OC come out. Then you do what you did. Okay, whatever. Okay, the Revival shouldn't have even been in the match to begin with. They already have a title shot for the SmackDown tag team titles. They shouldn't have even been there to begin with. And this tells me a lot about what they have planned for Rude and Ziggler. Okay, for that promo that they cut afterwards, this team was not made on a whim. Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was. You're not fooling anybody. Yeah, it was. And if they're doing this, it's Rude and Ziggler versus Strowman and Rollins for the tag team titles at Night of Champions. 2 teams that 8 days ago were not that before last week didn't exist. Okay. Your tag team division, it's balls. It's horrid. It's bad, and this just proves it. We're probably going out of Clash of Champions with Rude and Ziggler as your tag team champions. Because I don't feel like they're going to have whoever walks out of the main event with the championship. Because let's face it, Strowman versus Rollins is the main event. We can put that in right now. We can lock that baby down. They're not going to let them... It will be very surprising to me if whoever walks out the champion of the main event walks out with 2 titles. Because that almost never... It's not a thing they do. Normally. But then again, they're so hard up on Rollins, you never know.
Exactly. It's it's enough of an afterthought to them where anything could happen.
And here's the problem. It's very hard to predict because Ziggler hasn't won a match. I think has he won a match?
Not that I can recall.
So it's like, why is this even happening? I would have been fine with another rematch with the OC. I would have been fine with it. It's probably what should have happened because you're trying to make the OC look strong. You've been doing it for the past 4 weeks, for the last month, and then all of a sudden, hey, we're building an entire pay-per-view around Rollins and Strowman. Let's put the tag team titles on them. Fuck the OC.
This is such good shit.
All right. So it goes back to what I was saying when the OC first came in. Why should I give a fuck about Gallows and Anderson? Because they're gonna pull this shit. So it's just tag team division is horrid all around. SmackDown and Raw. They need to just. It just shows all the tag teams in the WWE were in this tag team turmoil unless they were the champions. The contenders for the SmackDown tag team titles at Clash of Champions were in this tag team turmoil match. I'm like,
this honestly gets even worse the more we talk about it. I'll be honest with you.
So it's like,
and personally, I don't think the King of the Ring was much better this week on either show. Sure,
I liked the Raw. I liked everything.
Ricochet defeating Drew McIntyre and Baron Corbin defeating The Miz.
Here's the deal. Ricochet versus Drew McIntyre was great. I'm surprised that they had Drew McIntyre go out this early.
That was the one and only surprise.
However, okay, as long as it was Ricochet, if it was someone like Shelton Benjamin or something like that beating Drew McIntyre, I would have called bullshit. But it's like, it's Ricochet. The match was great. I see Ricochet going to the semis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, okay. And the match was great. So, thumbs up to Ricochet versus Drew McIntyre. Baron Corbin versus The Miz. The Miz sucks as a babyface. Always has. Best. Always has. Like, The Miz is must-see TV as a bad guy. Okay? But as a babyface, he's the drizzling shit. Like, he's bathroom break. He's bathroom break worthy as a babyface. So, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud on a podcast where I've been shitting on him for the last 3 months. But Baron Corbin winning was a good thing. That's it.
Truly, we are living in the end times.
And you know what? I'm getting to the acceptance phase right now of the 5 stages.
Good for you.
Of whatever, because...
Good for you.
Really? Alright? I can see it. Can you see it?
It's possible.
Can you see King Corbin?
It is entirely possible.
He kicked out of 2 skull-crushing finales.
It is entirely possible, and it sounds completely like something they do.
The only thing that slows me down on that is, you know how WWE, when you touch the prize, you normally don't win?
That's what's giving you pause?
It's giving me pause a little bit. Everyone who touches the Money in the Bank briefcase before the match doesn't win it. Whoever sits on the throne.
Not happening.
It's been a while. So they could change their ideas on that.
Mm.
But I mean, like, the King of the Ring works best for me for a bad guy who can lord it over people. It's a great heel vehicle.
Mm.
So as much as I would, as much as I would not like it, I can see it. Because if you're going for the heel vehicle to get, dude already gets amazing heel heat. So it's like, if you want a great heel vehicle to get someone into that stratosphere, okay, there you go. But you can basically put it in the books that it's going to be Ricochet versus Baron Corbin in the semifinals. Of the with what happened to Cedric Alexander in the match with Cesaro, the knee problem, okay, that gives Cedric Alexander an out next week. So you could put it in the books right now. Ricochet versus Baron Corbin, semifinals of the Raw side, the finals of the Raw side of the King of the Ring. Ricochet versus Baron Corbin.
And what about elsewhere on SmackDown Live, where we had Ali defeating Buddy Murphy and Chad Gable defeating Shelton Benjamin? These two matches, in my estimation, were like night and day.
Chad Gable versus Shelton Benjamin. I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either.
That was a little rough, a little sloppy. And
so much was missing there.
Yeah, and you expect more out of these two when you know what they can do. They're not allowed to show it on TV. That's the issue. Okay, we know what these guys can do. We've seen them over the years and in different aspects of the promotion. Chad Gable has some of the best stuff that was ever seen on NXT. Okay, and Shelton Benjamin, back when he first came in with the world's greatest tag team, Untouchable, one of the greatest things they had. To see what they did in this King of the Ring match, to me, it's just above the Cedric Alexander Sami Zayn 3-minute squash that was last week. Okay, other than that, there was nothing worse.
And conversely, I thought Ali going over Buddy Murphy was match of the week, in my estimation.
Oh, easy. Just what I like what they're setting up, what they're potentially setting up on Twitter. Okay, Ricochet puts out a tweet saying Ricochet's pinned AJ Styles. Ali has pinned Shinsuke Nakamura. Cedric Alexander has pinned Drew McIntyre. And Buddy Murphy has pinned Daniel Bryan. They could be setting up a cruiserweight stable. They could be setting
up... I'm
up...
not sure how I feel about that.
They could, but a stable with Ricochet, Ali, who did I say? Alexander and Buddy Murphy to go up against people like the OC and just based on the names alone, I'd like to see it. Because coming off of this, what do you do with Buddy Murphy? What do you do with Cedric Alexander?
Put him in more random singles matches on the main roster so that more people can see him. Outside of that, that's all I got.
Exactly. You put them... it's a good idea for me. So, but the match itself, I agree. Based on what they had planned for Ali at the beginning of the year, you could have seen this coming.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna get a pretty good run. Could go to the finals.
Mm.
I can see a Corbin versus Ali finals for the King of the Ring.
I can see that as well. It's a
So
possibility.
it's if they were gonna give him the great run at the Elimination Chamber, this could be his great run. So I'm not surprised that he beat Buddy Murphy. I kind of wish that they did what I said last week and have the beatdown from Rowan and Daniel Bryan play a part, so that they could continue his spot in that feud, which I'll bring up later because holy shit, that's it. But the match itself is great. That DDT in the ropes, what the what the hell? Ali can put these two together. Okay,
You got
their
art.
series of matches in 205 Live, and what they've got, and what they did here. Okay, this could be a feud for all time. Let these guys wrestle forever. It's great every time.
Speaking of great every time, I cannot let this episode of Scholars Wrestling go without talking, at least bringing up the highlight of the entire week. Yes, that's right. The return of Lacey Evans.
And Bailey with the loudest move call ever known to man.
So the match was not perfect. Not everything and not everyone can be Lacey Evans. It's okay. It's okay. But either way, I'm just glad that she's finally back and she's doing things again.
I liked your obsession with Sasha Banks better.
Every month until it happens.
It's not gonna happen. He can
Every
talk
month.
all he wants. It's not gonna happen.
Every month.
Not happening.
So
Nope.
all of these things aside, in all seriousness, Raw versus SmackDown
Nope,
Live.
not done yet.
Wait, you still have more?
Not done yet.
You still have more.
Roman Reigns. The attacker storyline.
Oh boy.
Have to. I can't let it go. Can't.
This Brian is
This was
pushing the
something.
hell out of this. I don't know.
This was something that actually had me interested, this storyline. It had me interested in something that Roman Reigns was doing for the first time in a long time. Okay, yeah, the acting was horrid. But we finally had something that they were treating like... It had cliffhangers. It had good cliffhangers. Go up until the last 2 weeks. Okay, Roman Reigns shows the video. Okay, let's go back to last week. When they had the look-alike. And the black hoodie looks exactly like Rowan. Okay, and they go off the air. Him and Rowan are staring at each other. While Roman Reigns is in the ring going, what the fuck? Okay, so, fast forward to this week. Roman Reigns shows the video footage. Now, mind you, Daniel Bryan is there for this whole showcasing we're going to show you who actually did it, and it's a look-alike of Rowan. He was there. Okay, so they show the video. And it's a guy who looks like Rowan in a black hoodie on the video. Now, what did I just say? Last week, the look-alike was a guy who looks like Rowan in a black hoodie.
So there's no way to differentiate.
And Daniel Bryan, Rowan himself was not wearing a black hoodie at this last week. So what Roman Reigns has shown Daniel Bryan is a video of a guy who looks like Rowan in a black hoodie. Who did they show last week? A guy who looks like Rowan in a black hoodie. What happens this week? Daniel Bryan looks at Rowan.
Slap me dues.
Slap me dues. Says he's been lying to him for a year. But just last week. See, they have turned this storyline that had me so invested in something Roman Reigns was doing.
Oh, boy.
And in the last 2 weeks, it's turned into a shit show that makes no sense whatsoever and makes Daniel Bryan look like a dumbass.
Ay.
Have you ever seen Daniel Bryan look as dumb as he's looked the last 2 weeks?
I'll tell you what.
In the WWE.
I'm going to say yes, but he still comes off strong just because of how forceful and energized he gets while getting into character now.
Here's the problem. He doesn't come off looking strong in this because he looks stupid, not remembering that the guy he pulled last week is the guy who's in that video. He makes himself look stupid by being like, "Oh, Rowan actually did it." Compare the videos. It's the other guy. And then he says he's sorry to Roman Reigns and gets speared. Okay, I appreciate you trying, but
I'm not trying.
Daniel Bryan
still fell flat.
No, I appreciate you trying to say that Daniel Bryan still looks strong. But after this week, after this SmackDown, no, sir. No, he does not. Not at all. And if this is how they're building to a Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan match, fuck off.
But was it enough to fall behind this week in Monday Night Raw?
Yes, it was.
Really? So you're going with Raw?
I am going with Raw again.
Honestly, this is very interesting because I'm going to go with SmackDown. I was not that big of a fan of Monday Night Raw. Sure, there were some things to appreciate, but otherwise it felt like this Raw just dragged. Meanwhile, Ali and Buddy Murphy tore the house down, and even though you may not like her, Lacey Evans still came back, and that's what seriously amped up some of the enjoyment factor for me. So I'm going to go with SmackDown.
The difference for me is I'm fine with Lacey Evans. I'm fine. But for me, okay, the match was not good. Okay, it just wasn't. It was boring. Like, fine, she's good to look at, but you can't tell me. In all seriousness, take the look of her legs out of your head. Okay, if she looked like anyone else, would you say her wrestling?
Yes. Blinded by the light.
Yeah. See? He knows. He just can't say it on camera. That's it. But I liked Ricochet versus McIntyre. I liked Corbin versus The Miz. It was the right result. And it was not a bad match. It wasn't. And I liked Cesaro versus Cedric Alexander because of what it will lead to, because it leads into the match next week. What I liked is that Raw had good build to coming weeks. Okay, SmackDown did not.
Okay.
At all. So, yeah, that is what puts Raw over the top for me. Yeah, it might have had more bad segments. It might have had more that you kind of shake your head at. That Sasha Banks promo was not good.
Which is why I'm sort of only observing the Sasha Banks train these days.
But, okay, the build to further weeks was better than SmackDown, and what I look for at this point is build. So, Raw gets the upper hand.
All right. Well, then again, now you've heard from us from This Week in Wrestling. Now is the time in the show where we turn it over to you, our listening and viewing audience. Which show was the better show? What do you think of the build to Night of Champions? Wherever you are all across the internet, let us know. Facebook, Twitter, again, just look for us on Facebook, YouTube, wherever we are. Join us, show something, join the conversation, especially if you're on Twitter. Scholar Brian, where can he reach you?
You can find me slapping down fools at Atomic Beanpole.
And you can find me at I'm Robbie Rage, right alongside our compatriot, Scholar Tarek, at The Avataric. And you can also check us out on our main Twitter account, at ScholarsOW, for all the latest episode uploads, including this one. But until then, we have to get ready for the big prediction show. Will JML accept the challenge? Will he not? Well, I think I've got my idea. I'm pretty sure you do too.
We'll find out. Remember, if you don't show up, okay, no title shot. Here or for the rest of your reign. I'm not joking. Okay. As for your Twitter skills, okay, I would rather listen to drunk Alicia Fox and Titus O'Neil NXT promos. That's how bad your tweeting skills are.
And you know that's a fact because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome. See you all for the prediction show for Night of Champions.
Show up or stay away.